Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all to everybody that's rocking with us tonight as we continue throughout the show. We appreciate those folks that checked out the live stream in that last segment. We live streamed on Facebook, so shout out to you guys who were looking at the video and seeing these beautiful people in my ugly face. And thank you to those folks that are listening to us on TuneIn and on Streamer, as well as those folks that are listening to the live replays. Well, not live replay. That's kind of a weirdo thing I just said. But the replays on YouTube as well as on iTunes. Of course, y'all rock with us. We roll with y'all as we try to make sure we do here on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, live from the Den of Legacy in their radio. We try to make sure that we have some education here. You know, we don't just like to come in and act crazy and be silly and all of that kind of stuff. We like to try to see if we can drop some knowledge on you and drop some information on you, give you something to think about, give you something to research. And, you know, a lot of the things that we discuss, many folks are dealing with or living with or have someone that they love or care about that are living with or dealing with. So that is what we're tasked with doing here on the show. So before I actually get to that, shout out to our brother Hakeem who checked in. Hakeem, our girl, our sister SY shouted you out, and I know that you're shouting her out. Neither one of you guys are physically with us here in the room, but we know you guys are reaching out to each other as well as to us. Shout out to our sister Michelle K. Michelle K is checking us out as well. We got a lot of love from the folks that are checking out the live stream on Facebook. And to be quite frank, the only reason why we ain't doing it right now is because my battery died. So when I charge it up, potentially we may be able to get back on the Facebook live stream. But what I want to do now is I want to shift the conversation to the brother and sister shenanigans. And usually they do some silliness and some fun stuff. But tonight we're going to have some fun with our sister Kim, who is going to share some information with us about lupus. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to Kim, and we're going to have a conversation and a little bit of a dialogue back and forth. So Kim is rejoining the discussion now. Kim, tell us about lupus. What is lupus?
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that is not contagious. It's something that you get, basically your body turns against itself. Some other autoimmune diseases that you may be more familiar with are RA, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. Type 1 diabetes is considered an autoimmune disease. I can never say
scoliosis.
Well, that's not what I was going to say, but that one too. Scleroderma, what Bernie Mac got that from? Yes, that. That's another one. So basically, a part of your body does not recognize your body as itself and starts to attack it as a foreign invader. Lupus is a connective tissue autoimmune disease, so it attacks first the connective tissues. So we often have joint pain, body aches, things of that nature, but it can also progress and your organs can become involved. And at that stage of the game, that is when we have the more serious cases of people losing their fight with lupus if they're not able to get that under control.
So who gets it? I mean,
anybody can get it. Man or woman, children can get it. Typically, women get it more than men do. And between the ages of 15 to 44 is typically when you receive your diagnosis. But worldwide, we have about 5 million people that have lupus.
15 to 44.
Yeah. Childbearing age, basically.
Okay.
And so it can be in anybody. However, minority women are 2 times more likely to get it than Caucasian women. And when I say minorities, I'm not just talking about black women, Asian, Hispanic, any brown person.
So it doesn't discriminate.
It does not discriminate.
Anybody but white folk, basically.
Yes, and white women do get it, but we are at a much higher rate. Unfortunately, a lot of, and this is with any disease, medications aren't tested on us. We don't sign up for the research, and so there's still a lot that they don't understand about who it attacks, why it chooses to attack that person, and what makes minorities more susceptible.
Yeah, that was my next question. So you kind of already already answered it. Let's talk about symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it that's going on with you that you specifically, just in general, where you say something's not right, let me go get checked out? Like, what are you dealing with at that point?
Right. Well, I am going to talk about me specifically as far as symptoms, because I'm my own case study, right?
Gotcha.
I'm the only
right.
one
right.
who knows what that felt like. So for me, it didn't start as thinking I had lupus. I have always, for years, had a thyroid issue. And when I first started noticing some changes, I just noticed that I was very, very dry. Like, my skin was dry. I couldn't put on enough cocoa butter, I was just dry. And so I went to my doctor, and he said, oh, well, you have Sjogren's, which is another autoimmune disease. But then stuff started hurting. And then when I went for regular lab work, my white blood cell count was really, really low. Like, a normal count is 4, and I was like 1. Your white blood cells are your fighters. So that's the immunosuppressive part. And so after that, we started a series of, I was seeing a hematologist, which is a blood doctor. I was seeing my primary care. I was seeing a rheumatologist. And unfortunately, there's no test for lupus. There is not a definitive blood test where they can say, okay, we're going to take some blood, we're going to come back and tell you what it is. There is a definitive blood test for RA, for rheumatoid arthritis. So that was the first thing I was tested for. When that came back negative, they said, okay, well, it's not that. Let's move on to the next thing. Often lupus is a process of elimination disease because there is no test. So they'll test you for what is known, then they'll look at your symptoms and they'll take a few things out, and then they'll test something else, and then they'll take some more things out, and then you get a diagnosis. Most people, it takes 2 to 5 years to actually get a diagnosis. So this is not you're going to the doctor and they're telling you, in 2 or 3 days once you get the blood work back. And during that time, you're suffering. Your hair might be falling out. You might have the typical lupus rash, which is like a butterfly-shaped rash on your face. I didn't get the rash. A lot of times if you get the rash, that is a clear marker that what you have is lupus, but not everybody gets it.
I'm glad you said that, because, I was looking here. I was doing some research, because being the big brother that I am, I like to be well informed to make sure that my sister's taken care of. But, also just to let the listeners know that there are some other symptoms. You need to be aware of what's going on around. You need to test yourself. I'm going to just give you a few. They have about 18 here that they're telling us about. But Kim hit on several of them, one of them is, has your skin broken out after being in the sun, but it's not sunburn?
They call that photosensitivity.
Photosensitivity, Thank you. Have you ever been told that you have anemia, low white cell count, or low platelet count? Have you developed irritation or dryness in your eyes or mouth for more than a few weeks? I'm not talking about the cotton mouth folk. I'm talking about, have you actually felt this? Have you ever been told that you have protein in your urine? Mm-hmm. We're talking about lupus, but a lot of these symptoms and scenarios actually go back to being diabetic as well. And
that's why it's so hard to diagnose, because a lot of the symptoms can mimic other diseases and disorders. I did experience, like I said, the dry mouth and the dry eyes. I used to be a contact lens wearer. Now I just wear my glasses because my eyes don't produce enough tears to sustain me wearing contacts all day long.
Yeah, it's just funny. And it tells you here with this little self-test that we got from the
lupus.org,
that if you answer yes to at least 3 of these questions, the Lupus Foundation of America suggests that you consult with your doctor and discuss any of these questions that you might have about lupus. We want to make sure that people are aware that you're getting tested, that you're finding out, because if you're in pain and you're thinking that these are just things that can go away, folks, they don't just go away. And you hate to see your loved ones in pain. But being a black man, and it's the only thing that I can speak to, we don't go to the doctors enough. We don't go and try to make sure that we know what's going on. We self-diagnose, and we make a lot of dumb decisions, and we hurt other parts of our bodies trying to self-diagnose. There are a lot of different treatments that they have, and I know I looked up a few of them. Some of them are aspirin, simple aspirin. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of anticoagulants that they actually use that they want you to take. It was another one, I can't pronounce it, but it was something like a blood thinner.
Okay.
That they tell you to take.
Yeah.
So folks, you need to make sure that if you're paying attention, if you hear somebody talking about, they got some aches and pains and they don't know what it is, try to go get it checked out and see what it is.
Yeah. And the thing, he brought up about men, lupus affects women more frequently, but men can be affected by lupus. The other thing to know is that there are 3 different types of lupus. There is discoid lupus, and if anybody is familiar with the singer Seal, the scarring on his face, he had discoid lupus, and that's what those scars are.
Oh, I thought it was because he was African and he had that.
No.
No, I was with no. I really did, Joe. You onto something because there's
It's a culture.
It's a culture thing, and I thought the same thing.
That's what I thought that was.
Yes, he is, but those scars are discoid lupus scars. And what happens with discoid lupus is it's almost like developing calluses on other parts of your body besides like your feet, like that hardened skin, and they leave permanent scars.
So is there a cure for lupus?
There is no cure for lupus. We are treated. We are not cured. There are medications. There are some things, a couple of things that you can do just over the counter. A lot of what we experience is just going to be aches and pains, fatigue. So, of course, the first line of defense is just doing your NSAIDs, your ibuprofens, your Aleve. There is prescription medication one of them is called Plaquenil. It's actually an anti-malarial, but it has been proven effective in preventing lupus flares. Of course, I'm the special child who is actually allergic to Plaquenil. So I am unmedicated at the time. I don't have a defense against flares. When my lupus flares, I'm generally put on a couple of rounds of steroids, which has its own very, very negative side effects. If you've ever taken steroids, it weakens your bones. It causes you to gain weight.
It makes you meaner.
You ever thought about taking up yoga?
I do yoga as well as exercise. Exercise is one way that lupus sufferers can help with their joint pain. It sounds counterintuitive, but if you just let it sit, it gets stuck. So you got to move it.
Let me get your opinion on something, Kim, because we're getting a hit from our sister Melanie. She says that people need to call Dr. Sebi's office. There's an herbalist on standby, and if you have enough money, to go to his village. Do you know anything about natural treatment and remedies or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's several things that you can do, and I'm not an herbalist, and I can't speak to all of the things, but I know one of the herbs that has been found to be very effective in inflammation is turmeric. So the stuff that you put on your food, I actually take that in supplement form myself personally. There are also certain essential oils. Omega-3 fish oils are also a very good lubricant, and they help protect our joints from the inflammation. So I too take a fish oil supplement. Doctors will tell you need to find an open-minded rheumatologist. Rheumatologists are the specialty that treat lupus. Some of them are not open-minded when it comes to alternative therapies at all, and some of them will tell you to go get acupuncture. So it just depends on who you're talking with. I would definitely say if you are medicated for your lupus, make sure that whatever herbal supplements you're considering taking are not going to have a negative interaction, because we don't want you to hurt yourself trying to help yourself. For someone like me who's unmedicated, I do use some of those herbal remedies.
Being the person I am, I'm really in tune with yoga and aligning like your chakras and all of that. And, diseases come in forms of our body. It's all energy. And so are our chakras. So I think if you start doing yoga and you start aligning your chakras, and I have some meditations I'll show you after this.
That would be great.
My mentor actually is a RN nurse, and she actually started to heal some of her patients just by doing meditations, because it's like using the energy from the earth and the universe to actually heal within.
Right. And I think, diet is so important. People don't realize that your food is medicine. And, I say all the time that, especially us as African Americans, we are killing ourselves with our knives and our forks, because we are putting stuff in our bodies that we don't know what it is. My dad eats bacon every day. Nobody's ever going to change him, but he also grew up eating, the pigs that they slaughtered on site. Once we got into factory farming and antibiotics, you have no idea what you're putting in your body. Sure. So you have to be careful with that. Lupus, they say that lupus is triggered by an event. That could be environmental, or it could be something that happens in your body. You would have a genetic disposition for it, but that doesn't mean it has to start. I personally think my lupus was triggered in 2006 when I was involved in a car accident with a tractor trailer. I think that incident was so traumatic for my body that everything woke up that was asleep, and as a result, here I am with lupus. But I'm not suffering with lupus. I'm living with it.
You're managing.
Yeah.
Well, you look great.
I'll tell a personal story. Shout out to my blood brother, big brother Chuck, who was listening to. He's actually watching the live screen. I wonder if he has switched over to our tune in on the radio here, but he referenced our aunt, and I had an aunt who had lupus, and I remember we lost her in February of 2000. And her passing was one of the most traumatic events of my entire life, because she was quite frankly one of my favorite people to ever live. Between her and my nana and other folks in my family, she's just really important to me. And she had lupus, and she was diagnosed somewhere in the mid to late 80s, and she would have been right into that age group that you mentioned, because she was born in 1940. And so I just remember, Auntie Lane's getting sick. Auntie Lane doesn't feel good. Auntie Lane's going to the hospital. Like, these are the things, my earliest memory of her lupus is 1988, and I was 14. And so I was always under the impression that lupus affected, and I'm going to come back and share more about my auntie because I don't get to talk about her quite enough, but I want to share this with you, Kim, to kind of get your thoughts on this. But I was always under the impression that lupus affected different people in different ways. Some folks might have respiratory issues. Some folks might have issues with aches and pains. Some folks might have arthritic issues. Is that, in your experience, something that's accurate? Do you know other folks that have lupus whose experience is completely different from your experience?
I do. And that's one of the things that if you go to lupus.org, if you just want to learn some more about the disease, it says there that no two cases of lupus are exactly alike. Just like no two people are alike. For me, I might be primarily aches and pains. I've been blessed so far to not have my organs affected by lupus. But people die from this disease because it can affect your heart, it can affect your lungs, it can affect your kidneys. And once those major systems get involved, things start to shut down, then the interventions are dramatic that they have to take. One of the things that they do when your organs get involved is immunosuppressants. The danger in that is you can't catch lupus from me, but if I'm on an immunosuppressant, your sneeze could kill me, because they're completely suppressing your immune system. So you don't have any fight.
Right. Wow. I didn't even think about that. Wow. Okay.
So yes, it can look different in everybody. There's also a thing called medication-induced lupus. There are certain medications that you can take that will give you lupus symptoms. Now, most of the time, once you stop the medication, then the symptoms go away. But that is something else that can happen. The type of lupus that I have and that most people have is called SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, is what most people have. So that is the biggest lupus offender. But like I said, there is also the discoid.
Say that one more time. The most common and the one that you have.
The most common is SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus.
Bless you.
Gesundheit. Thank you.
Okay. I'm looking for it, and I found it.
Yeah,
okay.
it's at the
Yeah, systemic lupus. That word. Okay. Okay. I got you. And that's the most common.
That is the most common.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So about 40% of people that have lupus have SLE, and then the rest of the other 60% would be divided between those other two.
Now, for those folks who love you and other folks who have lupus, how do we support you?
I'm so glad you asked.
Whoop, whoop.
May, first of all, is Lupus Awareness Month. So if you follow me on Facebook, every day I have posted a lupus fact. Also, our color is purple. May 20th is Wear Purple Day. So on May 20th, today's the 16th, so what is that, Saturday?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on Saturday.
Oh, Friday.
Friday.
My apologies. On Friday, put on.
I got to wear this shirt again?
No, I hope
as long as you wash it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So on Friday, we want you to put on.
Yeah, Friday's bath day. Okay.
Friday's bath day?
Friday's bath
Okay.
day.
Do we need to bring you the special soap?
Well, today wasn't bath day, so this might stink by the time Friday comes, but I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Friday, wear purple in support of me and all the other Lupies that you.
Lupies?
That is what we are.
You are fiascos?
We are Lupies. So that's one way you can support us. But also, the Lupus Foundation of America has local chapters. Virginia is a part of the Maryland, D.C., Virginia chapter. And we will be having a walk, the Walk to End Lupus Now, June 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at John B. Todd Stadium in Newport News.
What day was that again? Because Marcus and I have missed it up several times.
June 25th, 6 to 8 p.m., not a.m., p.m. at, and Marcus is checking to make sure he put the right time in. I have a team. The team is called Green Bean Fights. Green Bean is me.
She is the green bean.
And my brother just pointed out to me that I am currently listed on the website as the top fundraiser.
The top fundraiser.
The top fundraiser. So you can support me by going to lupus.org, searching out the local DC, Maryland, Virginia portion of the site and going on to select Hampton, Virginia. That's where the walk is going to take place.
Hampton Road.
And then I am Kimberly Lewis, the top fundraiser, and my team is Green Bean Fights. You can join my team. Come on out.
Come on out.
And walk with us.
We gonna walk.
Or you can just make a donation. I would appreciate it. The funds go to lupus research.
How about you come on out,
And
make a donation, and walk with us?
And walk with us.
Because Hampton Roads is
Right down the road.
right down the road.
And if you are a Braxton Family Values fan, I personally don't watch reality television, but Mama Braxton is our
Grand
Marshal. At her Tony Braxton, her
Braxton.
daughter has lupus. Tony is one of the spokespeople for the foundation. Tony Braxton has lupus, and her mama is our Grand Marshal at the walk on June 25th.
And since you all gonna, come out and see Miss Evelyn Braxton, she grew up in South Kakalaki, right down there in Columbia.
Right down the road.
Right down the road.
And the girls grew up right up in Maryland.
Right up in Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we are family.
We are family.
I got all my sisters.
And me.
With
you?
No? Okay. Anyway.
Y'all just kind of made it weird. Not that bad.
You just mad because you wanted to be in
You
the
wanted to
family
be in there.
too.
I mean,
You just come eat fish sandwiches.
yeah,
Wow.
that's why y'all.
This is pretty true.
That's why y'all's daddy like me more than he like y'all.
Do you want us to tell you a truth about that?
No, it sounded good for radio. Damn.
Hey, but I'm gonna shout you out again because I'm looking here. I'm on the site right now, folks. Go to the site. Go to the lupus.org site and see that my sister, is #1 top fundraiser right now, and we are not going to be #2. We are going to continue to raise these funds, and I'm going to put a challenge out there to Marcus J.
Challenge him.
I'm gonna challenge Marcus J. and the rest of our brothers to donate and walk with us. Everybody wants to sit there and, we think that we got something to do on Saturday. We want to do this. We want to do that. Guess what? Get out and let's help our community. Let's help our folks. Let's show the people around us that we love them.
2 hours. That's all we're asking for.
That's it. 2 hours. Your team is #2.
My team is #2. So let me break this down for y'all real quick so that you know how to find me. First, you want to go to www.lupus.org. You want to click the link that says Join Walk to End Lupus at the bottom of the screen. Then you want to go to the Register to Walk link. You don't actually have to register, but this is how you make a donation. And then you want to select VA, Virginia, Hampton Roads. Once you are there, you will find me, Kimberly Lewis, not literally me, or you will find my team, Green Bean Fights, and you can make a donation there.
And any donation that you make is a welcome donation.
Yes.
Unlike some of these churches around here, we take jingly stuff too.
Wow. Actually, the website don't take jingly stuff.
I will. I'll convert it.
I will pass a bucket if somebody wants to put something in it.
I will pass the bucket.
I'm definitely happy to hear that you're a leading person on the website.
Thank
because
you.
that tells me that the people who are supporting you understand how important this is, and that says a lot about you. I take it very personally. One, because just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's not important to other people, and so you need to take the opportunity to learn about it, especially when folks are suffering like this. It's a no-brainer. But for me, it's a lot more personal, again, because of my aunt. And I watched, as she got older, her challenges got to be stronger. And as I got older, I started to understand a little bit more about the things that she was going through. And, I didn't get to say goodbye to her. You know what I mean? And so I've always been, we lost her in 2000, I've always been very, very sensitive. So when I found out that you had, I was like, wow, okay, cool. Because I didn't know anybody else personally since her. And so, on behalf of her, I mean, obviously, I'll be making sure that I participate in every way that I can, as well as on behalf of you, as well as my sister, to make sure that we do what we can, not just as me as an individual, but us as Legacy Internet Radio, to throw some coin.
I got the bucket.
Throw some coin, at it to make sure that not only, because first of all, we are competitive. Like, we do want you to win.
Yeah, we want you to win.
Keep on. But, I want to make sure that the foundation gets what they need as well. And
I would also just like to, to thank everyone who has already contributed to make me the #1 fundraiser. The support that I've received has been overwhelming. This is my first year participating in the walk. I received my diagnosis in 2014, but I had not been involved until I found out that African American women are affected at such a high rate, but we don't participate. So it is my goal to be that voice and to be present for us, so that they can figure out how to better help African American women with the drugs and the treatments.
Well, let me ask you this, because if you had your diagnosis that long and you just decided to participate, now what was it about you personally that caused you to not jump in until now? Because you stated that when you did your research, you realized the sisters just wasn't doing it. Obviously, you're a sister and you wasn't doing it. And so speak to that. What was the reason why you personally didn't jump in and participate?
For me personally, I had a diagnosis, but I had never experienced a flare.
Okay.
So my symptoms, while somewhat painful, were kind of abstract.
Okay.
In February, lupus doesn't like extreme temperatures, hot or cold. In February, I moved in 20-degree weather. Literally moved housing in 20-degree weather. The very next day, I couldn't get out of bed.
Right.
And I didn't know what was wrong with me.
So once it got real, and personal,
then I said, I have to do better. I have to get involved, because there are other people suffering who might not have their diagnosis, so they don't know why, or they might be somewhere in a lab right now developing a medication that they haven't tested on any brown people.
Well, Melanie says that medication is evil. What do you say to that?
I think that there are certainly folks who don't believe in taking medication.
Right.
And if that is your stance, more power to you.
She actually says medicine equals poison, is to correctly quote her.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I agree with her. As I said, I'm actually not medicated because I'm allergic to the medication. So I am currently not medicated. What I will say, as far as people who don't take medicine, or the stance on medication is evil, I would say educate yourself. There are good and bads to every side. I do, in my personal life, I work actually with another very serious illness, and I definitely think that the pharmaceutical industry has some cures that they are not sharing, because sick people make you rich. Well people don't help the situation. Yeah. So as far as medicine being poison, you do what feels good in your soul, whatever that is. For me, I am not an over-the-counter cold medicine taker, but I will not be in pain if I can help it. So I am the first person to reach for some pain relief.
Right.
You know,
I think that's fair.
That's
think
how
that's
I
fair.
feel about it.
Yeah.
I know people who don't take medication. I don't think it's evil. I think that, like I said, there are powers at work
Right.
who do not have the good of humanity in mind when they are cooking up their secret sauces.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't, I don't have any illnesses or anything like that. But quite frankly, a couple of days ago, I didn't feel very well, and the family was suggesting that I take something. I was just like, nah, man, I'm just going ahead and rock through this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel good, but I don't like taking medicine either, So I'm certainly not putting myself on par with people who have real life, illnesses and diagnoses and things. I'm not saying that I'm on the level of that, but I can understand the whole thing of let me just let my body do what it's going to do.
And I do think we do have to recognize that the body is an amazing machine that we don't understand. Doctors don't understand it fully. We don't understand fully. And so I think a lot of times if you let the body do what it's meant to do, it
Right.
will heal itself.
Right.
Sometimes things go wrong.
Right.
And a chronic disease like lupus is a time when something has gone wrong.
Right.
Now, lupus can go into remission.
Okay.
And so there could be times when I'm asymptomatic.
Right.
They won't say I'm cured, but they'll say, like Magic Johnson, right? There's no sign, there's no testable level of HIV in his blood. That's what they say.
That's because he got the cure that none of us know about.
I don't know. He looks mighty healthy.
And he's steady gaining weight, too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He looks mighty healthy. But, you do what feels good for you. If you don't want to take medication, don't take it.
Yeah.
But don't judge someone
That is.
who does take it.
No, I can dig it. I have Steppin, Marcus J, live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. You had mentioned something a minute ago about medication and how the money is in the treatment, and you touched on something there because I know that's kind of where Melanie was going, because I agree with that theory and that logic. And if you're someone who has financial resources, you can make sure that you live a comfortable life with regards to getting cures to things that folks who don't have financial resources may not have access to. I think, I don't think I know, because I've seen, enough research in my life that, anything that was created can be cured. Like AIDS was created. So AIDS has a cure. And if you got the financial resources to get that cure, then you will get that cure. And that's somebody like Magic Johnson. And since we brought him up, I'll specifically address that. If you don't think they can cure things like diabetes and cancer, I mean, we spend all our money on, research and things of that sort, where, this is just my personal opinion. You're not going to make any money as a pharmaceutical company by curing folk.
Right. And I also have to point out that not only could we cure these diseases, but we don't equip people with the knowledge that they need to do better.
Right.
As soon as your blood sugar goes up, they give you a pill.
Right.
Nobody tells you to put down the cake.
Right.
Like some common sense stuff.
Right.
That you could reverse
Right.
some of these diseases, but instead of saying what you really need to do is lose 50 pounds and
Right.
being real about it,
Right.
we will write you a prescription.
Because that's
and,
easy.
And you will go.
It's easy.
And you will poison.
Kick that.
It's easy.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
if you go to the emergency room, I know we're getting a little bit off task, but when you go to the emergency room, and then, like for a car accident or something like that, and then you look at the bill and you see they charge you $80 for a freaking ibuprofen pill
I had in my purse.
that you had in your purse that you could have just pulled out. It's something similar like that. It's like you gotta follow the money. You gotta read the tea leaves and follow the money. And as my brother Warren Ballantyne would always say, you got to think with your third eye sometimes. Look with your third eye sometimes.
Third
like
eye.
if you really think that someone that's going to charge you $80 for a freaking BC can't cure you of some of the stuff that we deal with, then I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell to you. How about that one?
And if you think that they're seriously concerned about your welfare.
Oh, of course
They
not.
don't care about no welfare.
No.
They care about that money.
Yeah. Well, you can't, the great philosopher Butthead from Beavis and Butthead once said that you can't have stuff that sucks unless you have stuff that's cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? And basically what he was saying was you can't have rich folk unless you got poor folk.
They just keep you alive enough to get your next pill.
Say
I'm
it,
telling
say
you.
it again.
Yep.
They keep you alive enough just to get your next pill.
It's
Just
definitely
enough.
crazy that y'all talking about this because I have a clip that talk about the exact same thing.
A clip in what segment?
The Shampoo Room.
When are we doing that?
Later.
Next?
Next.
We're doing it
Next.
next.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up the discussion on lupus and get some final words. Joe, final words as the loved one of someone who's living with lupus before I let Kim close it out.
The final word is, folks, once again, if your loved ones don't want to take care of themselves, hog tie their high pauses and take care of them yourself.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I will hog tie you.
Your brother's going to hog tie.
You got to catch me first.
It ain't hard.
I have long legs. What are you talking about?
Who's the oldest?
Long legs.
Who's the oldest?
Who's the cutest?
The,
I am.
the love fest
She
is
is.
palpable. Y'all, all y'all do is make me miss my baby sister even more. I was like, if she wasn't probably going to check out and go to sleep with my niece and my nephew when I leave the studio, I'd probably call her. But if you're listening to that, send me a text and tell me you love me.
I'm going to do one more thing real quick. I just want to, reiterate, we're at the John B. Todd Stadium. That's 12465 Warwick Boulevard in Newport News, Virginia.
When?
On 6/25/2016. Check-in is at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for everybody who's going to walk with us.
Yes.
For everybody who's going to walk with us. We not on CP time. We on
Not at
purple
all.
people time. We on green
and
bean
you got to
time.
get to Newport News. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
for those folks who don't know, Newport News is a little over an hour.
Little over an hour.
Little over an hour east of here in the Richmond, Virginia area, heading towards the Tidewater area.
And
For
it's
those
some
folks
construction.
outside, yeah.
So leave it.
And for those folks outside of the area, you leave Richmond, you go through Williamsburg, you hit Newport News, then you hit Hampton, then you hit Norfolk and Virginia. That's the direction that you're going in. And so make sure that you're there.
But if you can't come, send money.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
take jingly stuff.
Money is good. Like money is real
And we
good.
will be walking at 6 p.m. Now, we will also be wearing, what color are we wearing?
Purple.
And green, right?
And green.
Purple and green. Yes. The green bean fights wears purple and green, folks. So
Okay.
come on, let's make a purple and green wave.
Ain't no half step on Marcus
Wait.
J. Kim, final words on lupus. What you got?
It's an evil disease, but it can be managed and it can be treated. So if you have it, get tested, figure it out, and get your treatment plan in order.
Don't be scared of it.
Don't be scared of it.
Go ahead and attack it
Go ahead and attack it.
and bust
If
his
you can
ass.
name it, you can fight it.
And bust his ass.
Absolutely.
Ain't no half
Every
stepping.
day.
With Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. We just had brother and sister shenanigans. We had some fun talking about something that ain't no fun, but we gonna win against lupus. So I thank Big Bro Joe, and we thank our sister Kim for bringing this information to us. We're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're going to take a walk through the Jean Pipple room with our brother, Mr. 3375. In his room, we got lava lamps. We got pimp shoes with
Leopard skin
rugs, leopard skin with bare heads,
The beaded curtains,
and old people that look like Grady from
Exactly.
Savin and Son. Ain't no half step with Marcus J. I got Mr. 3375. I got our sister, our clairvoyant medium, Shayna Latia. I got our sister Kim. We got our sister Neek. And we got Big Bro Joe. And yours truly, everybody that's listening to us in social media as well as on TuneIn and Streamer. Ain't no half step with Marcus J. Live from the Den.